Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of In the Spotlight. I'm Mike Kenichi, and I'm really excited today because I've followed her career for quite a bit now. She's a producer, she's an actress, she's in the music business. She does it all. But more importantly than that, she makes an impact in everything she does, especially with the documentaries she produces. And we're going to get to a lot of that. She's very talented, a hardworking person. It is my pleasure to introduce to you Miss Mandy Del Rio Smith. And Mandy, I want to thank you for coming on today. It's a real honor for me.
Thank you so much for having me, Mike. It's an honor to be on your show.
I really appreciate that. And Mandy, the first question I have, everybody always has a story. And, like anything else, how they get into wanting to be an actress or be in music, whatever it might be, there's always something that inspires them at a young age. So tell me a story when you were a young kid. How did the love for wanting to be, in the business start for you?
I think it really started pretty much my whole life. I've always been a lover of film and music and, theater. So I always kind of had that calling to want to do something within the entertainment industry in general. Even when I was a little kid, I'd watch films and I'd dissect them, from acting, directing, writing. It had to be, I've always been kind of a film buff. Um, and then there was this great opportunity I had when I was a kid. There was a Disney movie being filmed in our area. I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area, from a little town called Pacifica, which Rob Schneider, who's also an actor, and he's from Pacifica as well. Um, there was auditions for a Disney film called Angels in the Outfield,
Yeah.
which was a remake of the old film, and I think it was the 50s. But they were doing open. Yeah, I think it was pretty much just anyone who wanted to be an extra could come, hang out for the weekend and be an extra as a baseball fan. Um, and in the film. So my mom, knowing how much I wanted to be an actress, she took me to do this, and we were extras in. It was the Oakland Coliseum, but it was funny that it was supposed to be in Los Angeles. It was supposed to be the Angels, so they painted the Coliseum to look like the Angels Stadium. And there was hundreds of other people, so we weren't seen at all. but but it was really cool. We were really close to the field, and we got to see Tony Danza up close, which my mom was really excited about. And Danny Glover was in it, and then
Christopher Lloyd.
Christopher Lloyd, yeah, who's
Yeah.
amazing. And then there's an unknown actor at the time who I think everybody would have thought, he kind of stood out. I don't know what it was about this particular person, but he went on to become who we all know as Adrian Brody. He was
Yeah.
also kind of an extra, but on the field. So anyway, that really was cool. I got to see how a film worked, and even they did some of the effects there, which was it was amazing to watch. So that really, I think that really permanently showed me which direction I really wanted to go. Um, so that was just such a great experience.
Right. And Mandy, you kind of grew up in the era I grew up in, the 80s, the 90s. And, we talked off air about this pop culture and things like that. But I really believe that was the best time. I mean, we're all partial to where we grow up, where we grew up in and things like that. But I'm still fine that I didn't have an iPhone when I was a kid. I'm okay that I didn't have, all these streaming networks. I mean, I just felt like it was a better time. I mean, for me as a kid, Wednesday nights, it was 90210.
Yeah.
Saturday mornings, it was Saved by the Bell.
Yeah.
And the music was just tremendous too. I mean, it really was. So, I mean, I could see where you you really wanted to get involved in all of this because you grew up when I felt like it was at its very best.
I agree. I agree. I mean, we were so lucky. And I've said that so many times. So I follow all these 80s accounts on Instagram, and they're always showing just amazing, amazing things from our childhood. And I always say it. I'm like, we were so lucky to experience what we did. Um, and you're right. It was just the best time. I'm a huge, huge fan of movies from the 70s in particular. That was kind of before my time. My time was more 80s, and 80s films are great too. Don't get me wrong. But it's the new Hollywood era was such an amazing time for film. And I to this day, I really don't watch anything new. I am so hooked.
Yeah,
I'm
me
so
too.
stuck in a time, do you really? Yeah, I'm stuck in a time period, and I'm not even apologetic, because I'll start to watch something, I'll just turn it off. It's like something new, and we really we were young at a time where the bar was very high, I feel like, and we didn't even realize it. It's like you took it for granted. And I'll watch
Yeah.
movies that I didn't even think they were that great at the time, and now I watch them and I'm like, why didn't this win an Oscar?
Yeah.
Why didn't this show win an Emmy? Like, why aren't all these people recognized for their talent as much as they should be? So
Yeah, and you think about this too, Mandy. Recently, I've seen it on one of the streaming networks. They've got the reruns of The Real World, and how huge was that? I mean,
oh
you can remember that. You can remember that guy Puck. He was
yeah.
obnoxious. I mean, he was really out of his
uh
mind. And then,
Mhm.
there was. I know you're very big with people who've went through a lot of adversity, and one of the people on that Real World, he went through a lot. I think his name was Pedro,
Yeah,
and
that was
he battled an illness and he fought like a courageous person
yeah.
does. So I mean, you got to see reality TV back then, I felt like was real. Like when you watch The Real World, they didn't look like they were acting. Where you watch
Yeah.
reality TV sometimes now, and it looks like it's forced acting.
Oh, yeah.
I just feel like in this era they forgot what good acting is, and I don't blame the actors. A lot of times I think it has to do with the people that are putting it all together.
Oh, yeah, 100%, 100%. And it used to be where actors had to my husband Jack and I were just talking about this morning. Actors used to have to hone their craft. They used to have to learn how to dance, how to sing, how to be multi-talented and diverse in their field. And I don't think these actors today, some do, I'm sure, but I don't think it's even unfortunately, it's not even like a requirement. So it's a shame. It really is.
Yeah, it really is. And Mandy, you talked about having to learn how to sing and dance, and I know you did sing and you did dancing as a young kid. And I was thinking about this too, where you just whatever the theme is of what show somebody's doing, that has to stand out more than anything. And when you were talking about singing and dancing just now, it made me think of a show that I really enjoyed as a kid called Kids Incorporated.
Oh yeah,
And what was great about that was you never really cared about the plot in the show. You just wanted to see what song they were going to sing next.
that's true.
And it was very smart by Tom Lynch, who was the producer, because he knew that he just had to put a 30-minute show together with very little acting and make the music and the dancing the theme of it. And I can tell you right now, most fans, they love the singing and dancing. So you do have to know everything
Yeah.
as an actor, because you don't know what kind of setting they're going to put you in. And that's something that I feel like we just said, isn't the same today as it was back then.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. And that's why things are. I just don't feel the quality is there, today that it used to be.
Right. So let me ask you this, Mandy. I don't know how much dancing you did as a kid, but I see kids today, a lot of them who do dancing, and I mean, God, it takes up a lot of their time and the work they put in to make something that they'll do like maybe 90 seconds of, to
Mm.
make it all fit. I mean, they're constantly working and doing it, and then now you see a lot of kids who do what's called like center stage. They do a lot of acting with singing and dancing involved. Did you do like a great deal of that as a kid, or was it a little of everything?
Well, it started with a little of everything, tap, ballet, jazz, and then I really um, my thing was jazz. I love jazz dance, and I've taken it off and on through my life, so I'm not an expert or anything like that, but it's definitely something I've always had in kind of my back pocket that I've loved doing. And I know with a lot of theater, because I was so passionate, I really wanted to, I was hoping to go into theater as I got older. So a lot of that is jazz dance. So that was my favorite. And to this day, when I watch it, it actually get emotional. And some movies I don't want to watch because I wanted to do that so bad at one point. And but I love jazz dance. I think it's amazing. And all the movies and musicals we see, it's mostly jazz dance. And I don't know now if that's changed. I feel like it may have. I don't know if people are doing that classically Bob Fosse type of dance anymore, but I hope so.
Right. And let me ask you this, Mandy. You are someone who got into it at a young age, and you got to see how a film was made and stuff like that. And I know your daughter, Luna, she's big on wanting to get involved in this. And, she's been really like kind of trying to get her foot in the door and things like that. But you could also prepare her. Again, you're not going to teach her every rule of the game, but you could prepare her for what she has to expect, what is going to go into it. And your parents were supportive of you. And I think like because they were so supportive of you, you're going to be as supportive to her, whatever she wants to do. And if it's being an actress, you're going to support that 100%.
Oh yeah, and I think even more so than my parents were for sure. But Luna is she's amazing. She's beautiful. She's talented. She's currently she's actually I wouldn't say touring with, but she's part of a Rocky Horror Show shadow cast. That's what they're called. But she's having a lot of fun with that, and I'm completely supportive. But there's also the level of you need to, you have to be as realistic as possible. You have to have a thick skin. You have to have the drive, the work ethic. There it is, especially now. I don't even know, the rules have changed so much as to how to even get your foot in the door with the industry. So I just tell her, one foot in front of the other, and make sure you can support yourself and work very, very, very hard. So yeah.
Right. And Mandy, we talked about the love you have for music, and I think it was around 2009, 2010. You started your own company called Songbird Media Consulting. Talk about what that entails and how has that been going? Because 2010 doesn't seem long ago, but it was 15 years. So just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, well, it's funny that I'll talk about that because I sort of fell into it. A friend of mine was an indie artist and he needed help booking shows and kind of managing, his, he would do mass mailings of his new albums and his old albums. And, he and I really clicked on our musical tastes. And, I knew he was older than me and he was very impressed with what I knew, when it came to music. So we really clicked. And I started helping him. And from there, I developed my business, and I would, by word of mouth, I was actually helping other people, book. And it was for indie artists. So it wasn't even about, the money or anything like that. It was just trying to help promote them and get them out so that people could see who they were. So I started taking on other people here and there and booking even like just coffee shops for them, nothing huge, but I did help, I helped them as much as I could. And it's funny, again, I fell into it, but as fate would have it, I moved from the Bay Area and I was still doing this and helping indie artists. And I moved to North Carolina and I met Jack Thomas Smith, who is my husband. Um,
Yeah.
he was holding auditions for a feature film he was doing in North Carolina. I took my Luna to the audition because she was even interested way back then. I met Jack. We hit it off. He actually gave me a small little extra part in his film, and he knew what I was doing with these indie artists. And he said, I could definitely use help if you would want to do it. And of course, I wanted to help him. I even think I offered first, like, I do this for people. I'd love to help you. So I put together spreadsheets of, like movie festivals and things, that I could help him market. And I was just kind of using what resources I had to help him in any way I could. So and we just immediately clicked. Obviously we fell in love, and we started working together immediately as soon as we met. So I feel like that sort of led me to being able to help him. I didn't. I stopped doing the Songbird. I stopped helping indie artists, and it kind of evolved into Jack and I working together. So that's what happened. So I don't do that, but I do other things. I'm always willing to help people. I love helping people. So I've along the way here and there. I don't. I've done some other things, but mainly I've been working kind of Jack's right hand man, so to speak, since we first met. So that's where it took me.
Right. But Mandy, I look at you and like I said, you really appreciate what movies were like in the 80s, the 90s. You appreciate what television was like, what music was like. And I really believe, I think like you have the talent to do this. And because you sang, you danced and all that stuff, and you're a good writer, things like that, I would love to see you do a musical of the Breakfast Club. I think that would be a great, you know, thing to do. And I think you would do great with it. And we're going to get into the indie lounge in a second, but
Right.
you and I talked about how we both had Don Most on our show. I would love to see you do a musical of Happy Days. I think you would do great with that because I think that you understand what those shows and movies meant to fans. And I just think that with the talent you have, that's something I hope you explore because you would do really well with it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That would be great. I like that idea.
Yeah, it's something I thought about. But Mandy, let me ask you this. I think it was 2015. You did start the Indie Lounge, and one thing I could tell you, you could relate to this. Being a host, while it's fun, before every interview, you're always nervous. And I think that once you start interviewing the people, you're fine. But for me, it's always when I do the opening. It's always when I do the close. Because you're trying to do everything effortlessly and to perfection. So let me ask you, what's been the most challenging thing about being a talk show host?
Exactly what you said. It was always for me the most nervous. I was always the most nervous with the opening and closing. And like you said, once you get talking, the nerves they definitely subside. But I would get so nervous. Even now, like anytime the camera's on me, it's a double-edged sword. I like being in front of the camera, but I always get terrified. Even before this interview, I was nervous. So, but that's been challenging but interviewing the people was my favorite thing to do because just like you, obviously you're doing amazing. You do your homework on people, and I would do the same thing. I do my research on them. So I had, I'd get my cue cards ready, and sometimes if I was super nervous, I'd have to do that, but it helps. So and then sometimes you get rolling and you don't even need them, and you just have a conversation with people. But I agree with you. It's that opening. I don't know what it is, and then the closing.
Yeah, it really is. But I mean, it is fun. And you've had different guests on, like we said, you had Don on, you had Robert from from The Sopranos, who, I think one of the best episodes was the episode when his character is trying to get out of the mob. He's trying to move to Florida,
Wow.
and you see a whole big thing like, um, and you get to interview people like that. And you just realize too, that like when you see them on one show, that's only a part of what they do. They do so many other things. He's an acting coach and he does a lot of teaching with coaching. And Don Most is a singer. We think of him as Ralph Mouth, but he performs all the time. So it's always cool too when you interview them. And even though you kind of associate them with, you associate Don as Ralph Mouth, you associate Robert as Eugene from The Sopranos, but they do so many other things that we get to learn about them. And that's what makes interviewing so many people so much fun. And even like yourself, like, I'm going to get into it, but I'm really fascinated by the appreciation you have for the soldiers and what they've went through and how your family has had a background with that. So, I mean, when you interview guests like that and you see that there's so many other things that they're involved in, it really makes the interview that much more fun for you as a host.
I agree. Yes, I absolutely. I've learned so much from so many guests, and that was part of the premise of the Indie Lounge, was to really it became sort of like independent of what we know them as. So that was like you said with Don Most, everybody knows him as Ralph Malph, or these other roles he's had throughout his acting career. But a lot of people don't know that he's an amazing, amazing lounge singer. So that was sort of the premise too of the Indie Lounge. Everybody knows this person as this, but they don't know about this aspect. So I really love learning so much about it. Like one of my favorite interviews was Peter Green, the actor. He played the villain in The Mask, and he was in, I think, Judgment Night, I want to say. Is that Judgment Night, Judgment Day? He's everybody knows him from Zed. Okay, so he was in Pulp Fiction. He played Zed, which anyone who's seen Pulp Fiction knows that real famous scene. But he also, what I thought was fascinating about him is his indie career. I watched several of his independent films, which were phenomenal, and he is just such a talent. But it was cool that I got to explore his career in that aspect. So I agree with you. I love learning new things that we didn't know. It's nice too, because people can hear the same interviews over and over and know everybody's story. But if you find something new, it definitely, I think it brings people in a little more too.
It definitely does. And I think the most impressive thing, Mandy, that I really love about you, what you do, is these documentaries. And I mean, Day of Outrage was tremendous. America Burning was unbelievable. And the thing of it is that when you produce things like this and you put them together, and yourself and Jack Smith did them together, you learn so many things about what happened on that day. And I mean, we all were affected by 9/11, and it's a day we're never going to forget. And let me ask you this too, Mandy, when you're producing documentaries like this, you have to go out and, I'm sure, interview different people, get to know them and things like that. I mean, it can't be fun. I mean, it's definitely something that, you enjoy doing, getting to know these people. But when you have to hear stories that are so sad, and the lives that were lost that day and what the families went through, I mean, I'm sure a part of you feel like you can't understand the loss like they went through, but you really do feel for them and what they went through. So talk about what that was like for you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things where one of my favorite parts of doing these docs is the personal connections we make. With our documentaries, each documentary we have guests on who are, tell the narrative of the topic. We have our experts, and we have professionals who really give us all the factual, the aspect of whatever topic that we're doing the documentary on. But we also like to put a personal face to it, and how people are actually affected by the subjects we profile. And like you said, it's, again, I want to use the word double-edged sword, because it's very hard emotionally, but I'm always so thankful the people we meet and work with and the stories we are able to help tell, because they become a part of us. Jack and I don't just interview people and, okay, bye, thanks, it was great. We're telling your story and we're using you as, this or that. No, we are deeply affected by every story we tell, and we're very passionate about wanting to tell their stories, or their loved one's story. We stay in touch with pretty much everyone we've interviewed us on a personal level, and told their personal story. I feel like they become sort of a part of our family in a way. We definitely get to know their loved ones too. For example, in it's America Under Siege, we told the story of Joshua Wilkerson and his mother. We interviewed his mother, Laura, and Joshua was killed, viciously murdered by a classmate of his who was here illegally. And that goes with the whole documentary was about the border, the crisis at the border. And she told her story of Joshua Wilkerson, and we felt he was just a young teenage kid. Jack and I are both parents, so of course that hits very hard. And to hear his story, we felt like we knew Joshua, like Josh was part of our family too. And Laura was just amazing. So it's very hard emotionally, it really is, but it's also, we're just so glad, and these people are usually always, actually, they're always very thankful to us for giving them the platform to tell their story, their loved one's story. So we just see it as, we just want to help people. That's basically how we see it.
Yeah, and I mean, you've done so many of these. And one thing that your parents, I said, I mentioned earlier how they were supportive of your career, but they were also, they made it a point to make you understand that it was very important to respect people in uniform and not take that for granted. And
Yeah.
that's probably why you've done a lot of these documentaries, because you've always had that appreciation for people in uniform. And I believe your grandfather, he was a veteran, and your brother. So just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I actually come from a really long line of vets, dating back to the War of 1812, which I've been able to trace. Even and I've had relatives in the Civil War on both sides. My dad's side was on one, the Confederate side, the South, and my mom's side was on the North. So it's just, I think it's in my bloodline. I've had a lot of military in our bloodline, and my dad fought in Vietnam, and one of my grandfathers fought in World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. I don't think he fought in Vietnam, but he was, a soldier. So he was a lifer, I guess you could say. I forgot what his position was off the top of my head, but then another grandfather, World War II, and Korea. So it's definitely something. Patriotism, love for this country, love of being an American has been instilled in me. Understanding that we have a patriotical duty to this country. It's not enough just to be born here. You actually have to protect our country, protect being an American, our American way of life. Every American has a duty. We all have to do our part. And anyone who joins the military, or signs up to put their life on the line to protect their fellow countrymen, or protect people, I have so much admiration for, because honestly, I don't know if I could be that brave. And I think that I just have such an admiration for that. I truly do. And yeah, one of my brothers, who's no longer with us, unfortunately, he was in the army at the height of the Cold War, and he was stationed in Germany. And it's just, that's always been a I would say unspoken rule in a way of my parents, just having ingrained that respect in us, in our family, to love our country and support our military.
Right. One of the networks that you do a lot of work for is Newsmax, and you actually started the series Newsfront. And the thing of it is, Mandy, let me ask you this because you have to keep up on current events, you have to keep up with human interest stories, and you also have to do politics. And like for me, I hate talking about politics. Like I always try to always keep that out of my shows, but you have to do that when you're doing things like that. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm sure like there's times you enjoy it, but I'm sure there's times you don't because you know how nasty politics could get. So how are you able to separate, the politics part from this and your everyday life? Because I'm sure like for you, politics is probably like 5% of what you do.
Yeah, it is because okay, so everyone has this idea of Newsmax being super right wing propaganda, and it's really not true. It's not true. And what I love about Newsmax and about the CEO Chris Ruddy, who gives us a lot of these documentary assignments that some of them we come up with, some of them he does, and he's always insistent, you got to tell both sides, you got to be factual like that. And we're already like that with Jack and I. We don't want to be propagandists, we don't want to add um we really, it's not even like we try, we don't want to put politics in things, we just want to say, here are the facts, we're presenting them to you, and you make your own decision. But we don't we're really strict about that, and even Chris Ruddy is strict about that. He does not want us to do anything that isn't based in fact. I mean, we're all on the same page. People be surprised about that, and everybody is surprised when I tell them we're not biased, and we've had people of various views in our documentaries, because they want to tell their story. So that's how we keep it separate.
Yeah, and I think that's great that you do that. And I've noticed that when I've watched it is I never look at anything as you being biased towards one way or the other. And I think that's important. And I think this is the only political thing I'm going to say, and then I'm going to drop it, is that we as a country in a whole have to understand we're all Americans and
Mhm.
we all want the same things. And instead of always looking at our side being right and this side being wrong, if we came together and we were united better, we'd be a better, we'd get along better with each other. And I think that's something that not enough of us do, and we got to work on that. But
I
you
agree.
know,
I agree. I think that helped that we grew up in
yeah.
a
So I
time
mean,
period where a lot of people did that. The 80s was kind of like that. You have to have different
yeah,
viewpoints. I have no problem. I want different viewpoints, but you're right. We have to remember we're Americans. And I mean, I think the 80s is one of the most patriotic times in our
yeah.
country. And I think a lot of us around the same age have that ingrained in us. So I
And
agree.
I think the proof is in the pudding with this, Mandy. I'll just use George H.W. Bush and Bill Clinton as an example. They
Yeah.
ran against each other. They were technically enemies. They did so much charity together after they both were out of office. They became good friends. John McCain, when he passed away, he had Obama do his eulogy. And that just goes to show that it's not personal when they're running against each other. They believe that their policies are better than the other guy's policies. But when it's not politics, they do great things together and they're actually good friends. And that's what it should be.
I agree 100% on that. Yep.
Yeah, definitely. So, Mandy, let me ask you this. I want to know, like, you're obviously your career is far from finished. Who are some of the, never mind actors, it could be anybody, who would you like to be able to work with, whether it's behind the scenes or on camera? Is there anybody in particular that you would love to get an opportunity to work with?
Probably so many different people. Off the top of my head, it's hard to think of because we've worked with so many people I've been so excited to work with. But I'm really not sure. Maybe, there's probably a lot of different people. off the top
Like
of my head.
I always say for me, like I would love to work with Michael J. Fox.
Oh yeah.
Just do 2 minutes of something with him. But I mean, you have that opportunity with everything you do. And I mean, even the documentaries you do, and you could even do biographies. I know you would do great with that. So there's a lot of creativity that you could do. And I just feel like there's so much for you to be able to explore. And that's what makes your career fun too, as much as it's a lot of work and there's long hours. And again, it could be tough at times. The fact that you have this tremendous platform where you can try to work with different people and create different projects, that's got to make what you do so rewarding.
It is. It definitely is. And we've got to work and communicate with some great people, and it definitely makes it rewarding. Absolutely.
Right. And Mandy, let me ask you, I mean, it seems like to me, you love being a talk show host. You love doing these documentaries. You love to do a lot of behind the scenes, obviously. You love to work in the music business, doing a lot of behind the scenes. But I mean, is there still the itch for you to like do films like as an actress? I mean, I got to believe that like you don't just want to be behind the scenes 100% of the time.
No, you're right. You're definitely right about that. I would love to. I don't know if I'll ever get that opportunity, but it's definitely. I mean, what we do is very fulfilling. Don't get me wrong. I love what we do, and um, I definitely wouldn't trade it for anything. But yeah, I miss having my show too. I do miss having interviewing people and being in front of the camera. I love an opportunity to do that again. So we'll see. You never know. Things happen out of the blue sometimes. So
Yeah, it definitely does. And I mean, you have to believe that the opportunity will present itself. But the other thing too, Mandy, that I think is really cool is that you talked about Luna she wants to get into the business. And I really feel like you could do like a mother-daughter thing with her. It could be something fun, whether it's I don't want to say reality TV because I feel like reality shows at this point would ruin the relationship between you and her, and you don't want that. But I definitely think you two could do something in film or something in TV. I look at all these like different things. I mean, you're very creative. You have like a great imagination. So I feel like that would be something that if you ever got that opportunity to do with your daughter, that'd be something you'd really entertain.
Well, thank you. That's a great idea, and I definitely would be open to that. I don't know if she would. She thought that she doesn't want to be too affiliated with her mom, but I think that's a great idea. I never even thought of that, but that would be really fun. I'm always
And
trying to get her to just sing with me, even like just gosh, go to karaoke and sing with me.
And I'll tell you, Mandy, you do a good job of allowing me to segue into stuff. You've done that a few times today. Because what I was going to ask you was, you talked about getting her to try to sing with you and things like that. It's so funny. When I was a kid and the 80s were, the big time music. And then when I was in high school and the 90s were huge with music, I used to always say to my parents, the stuff that you listened to in the 60s and 70s, eventually it's going to get boring, but our stuff is always going to be cool till the end. And now as a guy in my 40s and I, see kids say, "Oh, why are you listening to this song?" I'll be listening to like Positive K or Marky Mark, something like that, or even Journey or whatever it might be, and they will be like, "Oh my God, what is this? This music's terrible." I mean, did you ever think that like our music would get boring to
I
kids? It's
know.
kind of crazy.
I know,
Yeah.
it's so funny. Luna makes fun of me all the time for my music. She's like, but I'll even like she makes fun of me though for like the Stones, and I'm like, oh come on, give me a break. I mean, she likes a lot of old music too, which I'm really glad that she's into that. But so many times, I mean, she makes fun of my music all the time.
One of the things I wanted to ask you, Mandy, I had this guy on my show, and he writes a lot of children's books, and I know you've collaborated with him recently. So tell people what you got going on with this great writer who does these great children books, because you'll do him more justice than I will, because you know him well, and he's a phenomenal talent and a great guy as well.
He is. He is. His name is Paul Karafotis. And he was one of the stars on the show Knots Landing, which is of
A
recent.
great show.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. My husband and I have been binge watching it recently.
I'm
That's been a
trying. Yeah.
recent
Yeah.
discovery. Yeah, so Paul he plays Harold Dyer on the show. He's married to Olivia Cunningham. Anyone who knows Knots knows these characters.
And
Um,
he was also in the movie with Tom Cruise and Craig T. Nelson. What was it? All the Right
All the Right
Moves. Yeah.
Moves. Yeah,
Yeah.
he had a really funny part in that.
Yeah. He had a big part in that
Very
too. So
notorious. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it was a pretty notorious scene there. I won't
But
say it, but
right. So talk about what you and him have kind of like put together, because he does a great job with these children's books. They're
he
really
does.
cool. And I got to, when I interviewed him, his son came on with us for about 10 minutes. And that was cool too, because a lot of his inspiration is him being a dad and writing these children's books. So just talk about what you've got cooked up. So
yeah, I mean, Charlie, what a great kid. He is a great kid. I've talked to him over the phone a couple of times. Um, so, so Paul, in addition to being an amazing actor with a great career, he also wrote this children's book series, Charlie Bubbles, inspired, like you said, by his son, Charlie. He said that he wanted to teach Charlie his own values, and so he basically wrote an entire children's book series to read to Charlie. And in addition to that, they do a charity together, the Charlie Bubbles for Kids, where they give away the books for free to kids in need, kids in the hospital, just anyone who wants his books. They send his books for free. So I'm working on it's a very sad story, but it's very important what we're doing now. It's a book. It's called Charlie Bubbles Braveheart. And what happened was there was a baby named Isabella. She was born with a half of a heart. And unfortunately, after a pretty monumental fight, she passed away, just days old. Her parents approached Paul to do a children's book in memory of Isabella. So it's a very beautiful idea and a very beautiful story. Paul wrote a beautiful story about it, and I'm helping him illustrate it. So it's really I'm very honored to do it, especially in memory of Isabella and her family. So that's what we're working on together now. Um, yeah, it's an honor to do. And I'm really looking forward to completing it for the family.
and that's something, Mandy, where again, you're working, so that's always important. But it's something that's, I don't want to keep using this word, but it's really true. That's what makes what you do rewarding, because you're doing this for somebody who was affected by a really horrible tragedy. And you're getting to like put a smile on their face a little bit by these children's books with the comedy that comes in with it and the things like that. So I don't think you could ever like, you can't. What's that old commercial? For days like this, it's priceless. It's really true that you're getting to like give them an escape from everything that's went bad in their life. They read this children's book for maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes. You don't take their mind off it, but you're honoring something that they went through and you're honoring their child. I mean, that's got to be where it's the most rewarding.
Absolutely. And I mean, it again, Paul, he did such a good job with this story, and this is mainly Paul. He's really the force behind this, and I'm just happy to be able to help him out. And he's giving the direction on it, but But yeah, it is I'm very honored. Another thing, I kind of fell into this, but I'm so honored that Paul is trusting me to help him with this.
Yeah, and the thing about Paul too, Mandy, in Knots Landing, they did show a comedic side to him during different parts of that show. But this guy is really funny, and
Yeah.
it's amazing to me that he wasn't able to do more comedy stuff because he really is like an enthusiast. He's very enthusiastic in everything he does. He's very funny when you talk to him. I mean, he has like a great positive attitude with everything he does. So he's so much fun to be around. And somebody like that you really root for because you know that he's there to try to make people happy.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he's a great guy and super funny, and we clicked right away. I think it helped that he had four sisters. I have four brothers, so that was kind of something we clicked about. So it's like talking to a brother with him. Like he's a really funny, nice guy, and I'm really happy that we were able to bond the way we have. It's great.
Yeah, definitely. And Mandy, I was thinking about this as well. And the name escapes me because I had her on 3 or 4 years ago. It'll come to me in a second. But at the time of COVID, obviously a lot of people couldn't work, everything was shut down. So what this great lady did was she did Zoom shows of like doing black and white movies on Zoom and playing characters. And I really think that your daughter, you and your husband, there's so much there to do something like that where you could do like short stories and like do kind of like a spoof like I look at Mommy Dearest. That was a tough movie to watch, but you could do it in a entertaining way where it's funny and it's innocent and things like that. And you could have fun with your daughter, and you could also do something with your husband that's fun because I know both of them are like so impactful to you. And I just think like that's the type of stuff that you would be so good with because you really do tell a great story. And I think that would be something that if the three of you ever got to do together, it'd be something really cool.
Well, thank you. Again, you have these amazing ideas. I love it. So I never even thought of that, but that would be a lot of fun. I know my
Right.
husband probably wouldn't want to do it. He's great in front of the camera, which I don't get, but he hates being in front of the camera. But if you were to interview him, you would never think that he's so comfortable on camera and he's very camera friendly, handsome guy. And but it's funny. He probably wouldn't want to be in front of the camera at all.
And talk about him a little bit, Mandy, because how important has he been to you, not just your career, obviously personally as well, but to be able to work with him on so many different projects, that's got to be, something that will be one of the greatest things you do in your life because you're getting to work with somebody that you trust, that somebody that even if you two disagree on something, it's not going to be personal. It's just difference in opinions sometimes on how things should be. But you get to work with him up close all the time on a regular basis. And, that could be tricky too, because sometimes, what do they say? You don't mix business with pleasure. But with that said, it sounds like to me, the fact that you two met doing work like this before you got together, that helps. And you two really feed off each other well working together.
We do. It's been the greatest thing in my life was meeting Jack and working with Jack and being around Jack. I mean, we have been together since we've been working together and communicating with each other since the day we met pretty much. I don't know any other, people always ask us, how do you guys work together? And I'm like, well, we really don't know any other way. We've been working together since we've met, but we've also, I don't think I could ever do this with anyone but him. He is my best friend in the whole world. It is so much fun being around him. And sure, we get in arguments, we disagree when we're a couple too, so, there have been some fun arguments there.
I
But
also think too, though, Mandy, working together is healthy because, and I'll tell you why. I think a lot of times, and I don't want to like get into a whole thing with this, but I think a lot of times why celebrities don't stay together is because they're working on different things. They don't see each other for like 6 months sometimes. So the fact that you're working together all the time, it's actually a positive, because if you two were doing your own thing and you're not getting to see each other as much, that's where it could be a little strained. So I think working together is actually a benefit, which I think if more people in the business work together, it would be better for them.
If it could work for them, absolutely. I agree with you. It's I don't know, but it definitely, it's been great for us. It is, and it works for us. So some people are like, I can never do that. I can never work with my husband. I can never work with my wife. But I agree with you. I think for us, it's great. I don't want him to be going and doing something else, and I'm doing something else, and we're just too close too. I mean, we really are. We're family, and we're on the same page with everything. I mean, it's yeah, it's a good thing. It's a great thing.
And the one thing I've heard about him over the years, Mandy, is he say hypothetically, if I wanted to interview somebody that works for him or does a project with him, he would definitely get me to guest. And not that he wouldn't come on my show, but he prefer I interview the people that work with him, because he's not one that likes the attention on himself. He'd rather see it be on them.
Yes.
And that's something that's great, because that just goes to show that he's kind of like that coach who knows that he can't win without the players he has, and he appreciates what his players do. And the fact that he rather see them be on the shows than himself says a lot about him as a person too.
Oh yeah, he gives credit. He sometimes I'm like, you give too much credit, because he needs to be in a Guinness Book of World Records or something for how much he works. I mean, he barely sleeps. He works 24/7. I mean, and he's amazing at what he does too. I mean, he's the one, he directs, he writes, he produces these. I co-produce the documentaries, but he writes them, he directs them. It's just phenomenal. His work ethic it's not human, in my opinion. But he is like that. He always gives credit where it's due, and sometimes above, more than that. And he is much like a coach, which is interesting. Football is pretty much in his DNA. It's his favorite sport ever. He used to play, and the way that I feel like the way that he works with people and puts this stuff together, it is very much, it's funny that you said that. It's very much like the way a coach does, and does their thing and picks the players that he wants, and then if he doesn't get those players, he looks for other players. So it's kind of interesting. He's a very sports mindset, and I think that's necessary, I think, in what we do. He's so organized and so structured. So yeah, you're spot on with that.
Right. Mandy, the other day, and you and I talked off air briefly about her, but the other day I was fortunate to have Tanya Crow and her sister Jamie on. And one of the things I said to Tanya is, during her time on Knots Landing, I don't think she realized that she was a big part of that show. She was part of the core, because she did that serious storyline with the drug addiction that Olivia had, which was, to me, the most important moment in the series, because I really believe this to be true. And, I was a young kid at the time. I was probably in 4th or 5th grade. But after watching that storyline, I said, I'll never do drugs, because I saw that storyline. And I feel like she impacted a lot of kids back then and stopped them from doing drugs. And when I look at you, as far as the stuff that you do, the work that you put in and things like that, you really are in a lot of ways like her, because you may not get the credit all the time that you deserve, but the work you put in and to make these documentaries special and go out there and talk to the different families and talk to the victims and things like that. And you really want to know their story. You don't want to just put something together and not have any realism to it. That really says a lot about you. And I really believe that, like, when it comes to behind the scenes and doing documentaries and things like that, you're part of that core group that really makes it work. And I mean, I think in a lot of ways, you and her are both alike. I mean, do you look at yourself and say, you know what, I definitely am, making an impact in what I do every day.
It's funny. I thank you so much for that. I really, really appreciate you saying that. I really, I guess it's hard to see myself that way. As much as I hope that, I hope that, I mean, again, my thing, if I'm not, if I'm not given credit, or, that's not even, I don't even care. I mean, I really like it. It's like everybody, it's like you want to be valued and respected and appreciated for the work you do, like, no doubt. But I think this is like, and we don't really even have time we just go, 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 go. So my thing is, I just want to keep going forward and helping as many people as we can, and helping to tell these stories. And, that's kind of where my head is at, and I always appreciate it. And taken aback sometimes when people do praise us, like, oh, you're doing so good, and things like that. And we really do appreciate it. But, we kind of just see it as, it's kind of like a mission. We just got to keep going forward. We're being pulled to do this. So, we just hope, we want to bring as much positivity to the world, to people, as we possibly can, and do people justice,
Right. And Mandy, there's 5 months left in the year. So from now and going into 2026, what kind of stuff can we expect from Mandy Del Rio Smith?
Well, in addition to the book that Paul and I are working on, Charlie Bubble's Braveheart, Jack and I we've had 6 additional docs from Newsmax greenlit. So we're actually working on those right now as well. So it's going to be a constant flow of the documentaries, the series for Newsmax. Right now we're working on Marxism in America. That should be the next one that we're releasing. And that's about, what's happening. We're seeing the parallels between what's happening now on our streets and what happened during China, the Cultural Revolution in China. Sorry, I got lost for a second. And just Marxism of the past and the parallels we're seeing today, because we are unfortunately seeing a lot of the same things happening right now. So we're raising awareness of that. And, we're working on a documentary about the nuclear weapons gap, which is interesting because a lot of people don't know where we're at with that. And we're working on just several other ones that, after that as well.
Right. Well, Mandy, I got to tell you, I really do appreciate you giving me some time today. This was a lot of fun, a real honor for me, and I really do mean that. And I just think of what you do, and it seems like you don't ever have time to sleep or to even have fun. But to me, you go out there every day and just try to give your fans and try to give the people that watch all the things that you and your team do the very best. And that says a lot about you, not only as, a worker and things like that, but also a person. And I really do admire what you do day in and day out. And I really do thank you for giving me some time today.
Well, thank you so much, Mike. I admire you as well. Your show's amazing. And I'm just so thankful and honored to have talked with you today.
Well, I really do appreciate it. And thank you for giving me some time today. And folks, I got to tell you that if you don't know who Mandy Del Rio Smith is, and I'm sure most of you do, because these documentaries, a bunch of us have seen them. They're just so well done. And why are they well done? Because the work that she, like I said, and her team put in to make them the very best, because they want you to understand that TV isn't just TV. It's also life, and things happen in life, and there are good things that happen in life, but there's also a lot of bad things that happen. And she goes out there and gives you 150% all the time to show you that there is things that go on in this world that, like I said, are positive, but there are negatives. And she goes out there and gives her very best because she understands it's important to, see that there is realism in TV. And what she does day in and day out should never be forgotten. It should never go unnoticed. I mean, she's a very underrated talent who just wants to go out there and give the audience, the people that watch these things, the best possible material she can. And why does she do that? Because she's just somebody who brings positivity in everything she does. You see it day in and day out. You see the bond she has with her kids, with her husband. That's because, again, she's like you and me. She doesn't ever think she's better than anybody else. And I want people to understand this, that this is going to air, obviously, during the week. But she came out on a Sunday today to sit down with me, and she gave up her Sunday because she appreciates what the fans give to her, and she's never forsaken her fans. That says a lot about who Mandy Del Rio, the person, is. And when you think about her as a person, she's left an indelible mark. For In the Spotlight, I'm Mike Kenichi saying good night, everyone.